Hello, hello. Welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. We're
Welcome,
laughing because we've
everyone.
already bloopered because I forgot to take the guest out. And I was like, oh crap. I'd already hit the go live button. Welcome to our world. Sorry, Candice. Candice is our guest today, and bless her heart. She showed up early. It was awesome.
Yes,
Anyway,
absolutely.
welcome to Fempreneur True
I think we
Confessions.
start every week off like this. And it's going to be natural
Yes,
just to come on just laughing.
it's the beauty of one being live. Okay, this is not pre-recorded, this is not scripted, you know. But yeah, so
Yeah,
welcome.
absolutely. Welcome, everyone. So I'm Laura or Oda, and I am the owner of a small boutique style virtual assistant product management agency. And we're here to help small businesses behind the scenes get tasks done, delegate out your work, get you out on vacation with your kids, or alone at home while they're gone. Either way, but just some time in your business to yourself, doing what you really want to do and making sure that your business runs well behind the scenes for you. So.
Awesome. And I'm Angelique with Lady Powerhouse Solutions. And we take a heart-centered approach to offering project and event management to women entrepreneurs who are on fire, lighting up the world with their passion and drive. And we help them achieve their mission in the most authentic way possible.
Absolutely. So together that makes us Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. And our mission here is to empower women in business as well as in their life, since they are together, to live authentically and support each other instead of competing with each other. Where Angelique says all the time, we are in similar business areas and we could see each other as competition, but we definitely don't see each other as competition. And we like to live that authenticity through our personal relationships, our business relationships, as well as empowering other women to do the same and live in that authenticity.
Yeah. And then normalize the struggles, the challenges that we face as female entrepreneurs, and share the lessons that we've learned. The common goal is to lift other women up and never tear them down. Normalize what it looks like when women succeed at supporting each other and, helping each other build up our confidence and to use our gifts and our passions to fulfill our life's calling. So we're here to build, maintain, and grow a sisterhood that believes in an abundance mindset, sharing our struggles and helping each other rise to our highest potential. So, Laura, you want to introduce our guest today?
Yes, ma'am. So Candice here, Candice Montgomery, she is a business educator, course creator, and three-time business owner. When she started her first business, Candice had no idea where to begin. She had no mentors or guides leading the way. And even though she was on her own, she knew that she knew what she wanted and understood her purpose. She decided she wasn't going to give up no matter how hard it got, and her journey certainly had its ups and downs. Through grit and hard work, she landed on the other side. Now leading three businesses of her own, she is debt free and eager to continue on her entrepreneurial journey. Being a boss has changed her life. Uh-oh. And she wants to help others achieve their version of success as well. Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome,
You
Candace.
ladies
It's
for
so
having me.
glad. Yeah, we're so glad to have you. And I apologize if I have to mute and sneeze. Evidently, my allergies are near and dear today. So, Candace is with us today from Texas, and we're going to talk with her. She's going to share her story about how she started her business by herself when she was only 22 and the challenges she faced, the lessons she learned, so that, we can learn from her lessons. So, Candace, thank you for being here and being open and vulnerable.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful.
So, just want me to get into it, or do you
Yeah,
want?
dive in, baby.
All right. So, well, this is our 27th year in business, which it seems like it hasn't been
And
that
it's the
long.
same business that you started at 22.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
wonderful.
So it's my husband and I, and it was his passion, not my passion. So he said he wanted to have his own air conditioning business. And when he did, I was like, okay, well, let me just get my pen and paper. And I started making notes of what we had to do. I'm like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And I just took it from there. And so there wasn't Google and there wasn't Facebook back then. So it was all figuring it out on your own. And like I said, I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have my mom did hair. So she was an entrepreneur, but my dad, he kind of dabbled in it a little bit, but never anything really serious. So I didn't have any guidance from anyone going there. And so I just figured it out on my own. And so I learn all the time. And I think I figured out just a couple of years ago, oh, wow, I think maybe I might need a coach, because I don't think I know everything anymore. Which I never know everything, but.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up. Things change and you're like, oh, okay. Didn't I just learn last week this was the best way? And then all of a sudden some new thing and you're like, oh, okay.
Especially when it comes to digital marketing, any kind of online marketing, it is always changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so where did you start?
Well, I think I've lost like part of my memory over this time. So over this whole time. So like I said, I was 22, he was 24. And I just, like I said, we just kind of started from there, just started in our home, started building. And then when we were in business 4 years, we bought our building that we're in. So we've had that for 23 years now. And just kind of went from there. We only wanted it to ever be kind of us. We didn't really have this big aspiration of becoming this gigantic company or anything like that. At least he didn't. In the beginning, I was like, oh, I want to be this multi-million-dollar company and this, corporate woman. And because I had left corporate, and that was just kind of my mindset. And he didn't want that at all. So, but we got on the same page, and went through so much. I have so many.
So yeah, so if you had to pick one of the most valuable one of the most valuable lessons you learned, what would that be?
I would think that probably the most valuable one is having to deal with sales tax and taxes in general. I have two stories about it. So the first one is regarding sales tax that, I've always prided myself on being a rule follower and doing everything the right way and making sure that, that I wasn't missing anything and that I'm not a bad person. I didn't do anything wrong, And so there was a time, and I can't remember exactly the year. I want to say it was probably around 2008 when the housing market and stuff went down. Mm-hmm. The state started auditing everybody. And so it went from one company to our company to another company, so it just kind of was this trickle effect. And I have never experienced that before. And they were in our office for 5 days straight, going through all of our things. And I was like, okay, well, I have all this. It's not a big deal. And by the time she got done with that, she was like, you owe, I can't remember, 45,000, something like that. It was this ungodly amount of money. And I was like, there is no way. There's no way I owe that money. I said, I do this. I send this every month. I pay all these taxes. I do this. And I learned that there's so many things, so many intricacies with the tax laws, and that you really need an accountant to be.
And a professional that does nothing but that. Yes.
Yeah. So, I had an accountant, but I was still doing those kind of things on my own, doing the tax report and stuff. And what I didn't realize is like we leased computers Well, we leased computers and they didn't charge us tax when we leased them, but you have to pay tax on the monthly fee and you have to submit it to the state. And I'm like, who tells you that? How
Yeah.
are you supposed to know that? And then there was another one that was, oh gosh, now I've drawn a complete blank, but it was kind of the same thing. It was like, where do you get this from? And the tax laws, I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever read that book, but I mean, I've only read just a small section of it, and I was over it. I was like,
Right. Yeah. I'm done. Sign me. I'm off. Where's the dotted line? I'll pay somebody else to do that.
Exactly. And at the time, whenever we were going through that audit, and I mean, we had to go back and forth. And so what they had us do is match every single invoice, and we were still on paper at that point, paper and pen. So we had to match every invoice with every invoice from our vendor to match up with every customer so that it showed where we paid taxes or where we didn't pay taxes. And there was one particular one that just sticks out in my head that at the time I had a guy working with me, and he had written, it was change out for a customer at their home, but their business is on the same property, but in a different building. So he put the customer's name, but above it in the bill to area, he just kind of hand wrote the business name so that he could just pull up the information. Well, they considered that a commercial job just simply because of that. And I was like, it's not a commercial job. And she's like, that's the way it is. So, and she's like, oh, but yeah. She's like, you don't owe this tax, your customers owe it. And you can actually go back and get it. I'm like, if you think I'm going to go back afterwards to get the tax, you're absolutely out of your mind. It just is, it's just not clear cut. And so by the time we went back and forth, I finally got it down to like $5,000 that I owed. And I knew that I couldn't hire an attorney to get through any more of that. And I just was like, all right, fine, we're just going to pay it. We're going to be done with it. And after I said that, I got under my desk and I was just like, I cried. I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I quit. I give up. I mean, I was so just, out of it. And I was like, I just don't ever want to go through this again. And then, I picked myself up and kind of went through it and had to jump through these hoops in order to be able to get that, because then it ended up being like we had an ice storm, the state was shut down, and they're like, you have 5 days to get us this money. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, we didn't know it. And they put out a lien. So they put a lien on our business. We had no idea there was a lien on our business.
Wow.
Until we started getting calls that said, hey, we can help you with this. We're like, what are you talking about? We don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, oh yeah, you have a lien. And I was like, oh no. So of course it was the slowest time in our business. First quarter was always really slow. Again, air conditioning, we're in Texas, so we have no air conditioning issues in January. And we barely have heating unless, the past couple of years we have, but we barely have any issues with heating. So it's always slow. And I was like, okay, well, I don't have all the money that I had to pay this. I can't pay all this right now because that's all I have in my bank account. So I had to take part of it from our business account, and then I had to take part of it from a personal credit card to pay it. And then I had to go running from where we were to Fort Worth, which is about 30 minutes away, to this one sales tax office to get this one piece of paper. And then I had to go running to another town, which was about 40 minutes from there, to get them to file, to turn the lien off, to close out the lien. And I was like, this is it. I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So needless to say, we're paperless. I've been paperless for a while, but I've been wanting to be paperless for 20 years, And so now that, that's the kind of the exciting thing about what brought COVID for me is that I've been dreaming of this day of remote work and all this stuff, for years. And, but yeah, so that's
So lesson learned, hire a professional to help you with your taxes.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, there's going to be things that you can do. But the thing about it is that you're not going to be able to outwit them. You're
Yeah.
not going to be able to get anything past them, and or think that you can miss or talk yourself out of it. It's just not going to happen.
I'm
So.
sorry. I'm a tad distracted because a female cardinal just landed right outside my window and she's looking at me like this. She's kind of looking at me like, what are you doing? Are you talking to yourself? You crazy lady? Anyway.
You're talking to her. No.
So I have
Okay,
a quick
she's gone now.
question. Going in at 23 with your husband, like both of you in, like, just let's get this done, let's do it. How much resistance did you give at first, if any? Was there any part of you at any point that was like, both of us at the same time are going to jump into this? Or were you just confident and this was just going to work?
I was confident that it was going to work. I mean, that's my side of it. I've always said that, I'm behind that on the business and building it and doing all these things. And he's the one who did all the hard work and the physical labor and all that stuff. He's the one with the talent there. And so I just made the other things happen. So I just that wasn't his part of it. He just did not want any part of it. He still kind of doesn't want any part of it either. So.
It's cool. Coming from corporate, what did you do in corporate before?
So I was an administrative assistant for a global eye surgical company.
Nice. So you had an idea of at least administrative. I think a lot of what gets people is when they realize how much non-business stuff or like your non-passionate stuff in your business happens. And there's always that shock moment of, so all this is involved. It's not just, the pretty stuff I want to do. I'm like, there's a lot more to this.
Candice, have you ever read E-Myth Revisited?
I haven't. It's on my list of books to read.
So he talks about, often people start as, to do your own business. But there's three primary roles. There's the taskmaster, the manager, and the CEO, right? The entrepreneur. And the entrepreneur is the one with all these great ideas. Mm-hmm. And the manager is the one that's, relegating and delegating and orchestrating. Mm-hmm. Okay. None of the day-to-day is bothering the entrepreneur because they're coming up with the ideas. And then there's the taskmaster. The manager's telling the taskmaster, go make this many donuts, go to this place, install that air conditioner, and right? Mm-hmm. They're doing that. The problem is when you start your own business, you're all of those things. And if you are weak in any of those areas and you don't hire appropriately, mm-hmm. and you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another important point from the story that you told. You didn't know. You mm-hmm. thought you were doing everything right.
Yeah.
So again, I want to reiterate that you don't know what you don't know. Hiring a professional, even just for a consultation or coaching, is always a really good idea. Even if you think you already know it.
Yeah.
Like, you're fine. I got this. No problem. You don't know what you don't know, especially that young, starting mm-hmm. out, never having done this before. Mm-hmm. But yes, highly recommend that book. I think I would read it once a year because, like most books that are like that are so dense and robust, there's mm-hmm. you're always going to get something out of it. Mm-hmm. So we get through the taxes. Okay, mm-hmm. Done. Hired a bookkeeper, accountant, mm-hmm. whatever.
Yes.
What's the next?
So yeah, to just add a little bit to that backstory was that I had also called the state multiple times and asked them, hey, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? I wanted to make sure always. So that's the other thing too, is that even though I called multiple times, there's still things that you don't get. And so there's no way that one person can know all of these things.
All the things, exactly.
Yeah. That's why there's different professions. There's an accountant and, there's a lawyer and there's, they're there for a reason and you should, definitely employ their services. So let's see what happened after that. Well, we had to go through that. We had to keep all the records and everything like for a certain amount of time because they couldn't go back like more than 4 years. So we had to keep all that. And then I'm skipping probably a lot of things that happened, but I had a traumatic event that happened in 2014. And when that happened, I just did not want to do business at all, and I had already had my other business. I have a spray tanning business that I've had for 22 years. 22 years. So I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do anything. And I didn't want to pay the bills. I just wanted to stay home. And as that went on and legal circumstances and stuff came up, instead of, and this is another tax one, instead of paying our payroll taxes one year, I took the money and paid our attorney because he was over $30,000. And I paid, over the course of the year, well, I didn't pay the payroll taxes. And I was like, I'm going to catch up. I knew I shouldn't have done that, but I could not pull myself away from doing it. So all that to say, that was in 2014. In 2017, I convinced my husband and our daughter to move out of our home of 20 years into our 40-foot motorhome in my parents' driveway to pay off all of our debt so that we could eliminate everything. I was like, let's do it. We're going to lease out our house to strangers, and here we go. We're halfway through that year, and the IRS calls. And they're like, you owe $75,000, and we want it now. And that's even more scary than the state, for sure, because they can take everything from you. They can take your cars, they can take your house, they can everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to?
So hold on 1 second. I want to backtrack a little, because if you have an LLC and the finances are in the LLC, they can't touch your house.
Well,
right? Am I misinformed?
No, yeah. I think probably I just wasn't thinking that. But if you're not an LLC, for the longest time we were a sole proprietorship, and then we incorporated and became an S corp. But I wasn't thinking clearly about what they could do. But they can certainly, at that point they could take our building, they could take our vehicles, they could freeze our assets, everything like that. So that's all I was thinking, is just like, oh my gosh, I got to figure out how to do this. Well, again, didn't have $75,000 in my bank account at the time. I wish I did, but I did not. So I started trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I mentioned it to my dad, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to handle this, because we're in the process of paying everything off and getting out of debt, and I was just like adamant about not taking out a loan. Well, I had no choice. And I was like, we have to pay this. We had, I want to say she called me every day for like 3 or 4 days, and they wanted an answer. So we had to go and get a loan and use our building as collateral, which was scary, because I was like, oh my gosh, if we default on this, then we lose our building, and so many things. And I've never defaulted on anything. We had never defaulted, but it was just the thought, that's what you run the risk of that when you have to put up collateral. So we did that. I paid them, and it was a 10-year loan. And I said, okay, I have 5 years. I'm paying off this loan in 5 years. There's no other option. And I did everything I could to make sure that happened. And I paid it off in 5 years and 2 months.
Nice.
And I was like, all right, no more. This is not the way I want to have things done. And so a year ago this month, actually, we have been completely debt-free of our businesses and our personal life, everything. So that's been an amazing journey. And I wish that's something I would have known before.
Mhm.
I wish I would have started out different. But we just weren't raised that way. You know, we were not raised to think that we could do this without debt. And the thing about it is, my dad, he passed in 2019, and my dad paid cash for everything. But yet my dad and I did not have this really close relationship. So he didn't teach me these things.
Right. You didn't have those conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really wish you would have talked to me. And now, especially having to take over everything and take care of my mom and all this stuff. My mom has dementia. And so take care of all these things and make these decisions. I'm trying to think, like, how would he think? And it's not my money. And it's just that's the most scary thing, you know, is having to take care of somebody else's money and make decisions on somebody else's money that, you know, it wouldn't affect me. I guess eventually it would affect me, but it's there. I have to take care of my mom. So, but yeah, so now I'm just like trying to encourage women, especially, if you can do it without taking out debt, then do it. And I feel like we built small, and I mean, we had a manageable amount of debt, but then at a certain point, it just got out of control, you know, and that's where the problems come in, is because you never know when the rug is going to be taken out from under you. So,
Yeah.
When you went through that time period where you said you didn't want to do business, you just didn't want to do anything. Like, you got to that point where it sounds like that total shutdown of just unmotivated for pretty much anything at all in that. What would you do in that time frame? Like, what was your thought about how you were going to handle that? I mean,
well, I mean, I struggled with so many things. Like, I struggled with suicidal thoughts then. I had never thought that before, but during this time, I felt like that I was the one who had, you know, I caused this issue, and I just cost us everything we had worked 20 years for, and, you know, we were going to lose everything. And I know that's not the way my husband thought of it. Now, you know, looking back on it, he didn't think that way. I thought that way because I just put all that business stuff together, and I'd done that. I thought in a heartbeat, it's going to be gone. And I remember telling one of my guests that I spray tanned. I said, please don't let me cancel your appointments, because I knew if I canceled them, she comes every week. And I knew if I canceled them, that I would start canceling, and I would just give up. And I thought, I've never been that low in my life, you know? And I just was like, I don't know how to get out of it. So I just kind of kept going. It was not pretty. It was not pretty at all. But
And how long did that period of time last for you?
4.5 years. Yeah.
So I thank you for touching on this, because I think this is a topic. It's taboo. Nobody talks about it, but you know, trauma is real, and the effects of it are real, and they impact your life. So, what finally pulled you through?
I think once the court stuff, there was a civil and a criminal kind of thing going on. And once that kind of got through, and I'll just kind of briefly tell you. So it was a guy ran in front of my car, and I never saw him. And I was in a parking lot, in a school parking lot. And so he sued me and everybody else that he could possibly sue. And then the police criminally charged me. And so that was the whole thing. I was having to keep myself protected from the criminal aspect of it. And they wouldn't settle until a settlement had happened in the criminal case. And so I had to, and that was part of, you know, getting the money, taking the money, was that I had to go to Chicago every other month for a year for like 10 minutes. And so we'd have to fly up there and I'd have to go to court and then I'd have to fly back. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So I was like, there's no way I can do this. And I couldn't go by myself. I had to have my husband because there was no way I was driving. I wasn't doing anything. So, and I could barely just make it through those court dates. But I don't know. I think when they finally settled, then I had a year of unconditional or conditional discharge that I had to deal with and fines and stuff like that. And when I got finished with that, and then I felt like, okay, I can breathe, and now life can start again. And that was February 2nd of 2018.
Wow.
When that one ended. And then in 2019 is when my dad passed. So I had said, okay, at the beginning of 2019, at the end of 2018, I was like, this is really, I feel like I'm ready to get back into my business. I never put the effort into my business. It's my time. I put all my effort into this other business. This is my passion. It's my time. And I was like, all right, I'm ready. And I was out of this, hole that I was in. And my dad passed in March. And I was like, all right, just kidding. So and I went through that, and we went through the year. And then I was like, all right, 2020.
Awesome. Yay.
Yeah. No, just kidding.
2020.
COVID happened.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. And then, so we get through 2020. And I think if we didn't have our air conditioning business, I don't think my business would have survived because I was shut down. And being a small business and it's just me doing it, nobody else, then it was a little bit more difficult. But I think I survived because of that.
Another lesson, multiple streams of income.
Yes.
People don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Don't spend all your money.
So what are you doing now? Do you still have the spray tan business and the AC business? And
I do. Yeah, we do. So we're actually currently starting to move to the direction of an exit strategy for us, for our air conditioning business. What we're going to do, if we're going to sell, if we're going to keep and run, but have others work for us, kind of how that process is going to work. Now that everything's debt free, it was just like, okay, we get to this point and now we can make this plan. We've had, several, people that have inquired about purchasing. And so it's kind of like, okay, I guess now maybe we should talk about it. My spray tan business, I just now this year finally hired someone to actually start doing my sprays for me because I do still do sprays, but I'm on a very limited schedule. Because again, it was always my passion. I didn't want to have other people doing it. It was something I enjoyed. And did I think I would be spray tanning people 20 years later? No. I mean, who would have thought that? So,
right.
So I have that. And then in the last, since COVID, I've kind of been doing this, I hate the word coaching because it's cliche, but like educating, like teaching this, this is what I went through and I know how this works and let me help you start, so I started with the beginning basics, just budgeting, or not budgeting, but business basics, to all the things you need to know before you start a business, not your marketing and not your, building a 10-figure business a month or any of that stuff. It's all the other things you need. You need to have a business checking account. You need to have insurance. You need to have, it amazes me that people don't know this. And that's why I'm like, I thought everybody just knew everything I knew. And I know that sounds dumb, but I'm like, I don't think that I'm smarter than anybody else. I think we're equally smart, And I'm really surprised that people.
I think you're right, but I think we have different experiences.
Mhm.
We're individuals and we handle those experiences differently and we learn different things from those same experiences.
Mhm.
So I love that you're doing that. And I like that you don't call yourself a coach. And I say this because I come from a uh, corporate coaching, executive coaching. When I worked at the last corporate job I held, that's what I did. And I wasn't a coach. I supported the coaches. Um, and one of the things that the executive coaches and the professionally certified coaches just loathe, inside story here, is people who call themselves coaches that hadn't done any training.
Exactly.
And I do differentiate because I've seen the way uncertified coaches coach.
Mhm.
I've experienced both, and I've worked with certified coaches. And it's just like somebody saying they're a teacher. Did
Right.
you learn how to teach, or do you just calling yourself a teacher?
Mhm.
And because there's a reason that we have certify these people. There's a reason why nurses take boards and doctors and accountants and all those things, so that somebody can't just hang a shingle and say, yeah, I'm an accountant.
Yeah.
Certified public accountant. Are you a CPA?
Yeah.
Because there's a difference.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
think there's a difference too, for if you're looking for a coach, see that they've done some kind of professional training.
Right.
It makes such a difference. It really, really does.
Or the transparency, like you said, I've been
Yes.
through it, I'm being transparent. I'm not certified, but these are all the things that I faced in my business and took note of and can help you through.
Over
So,
the past 2 or 3 decades. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's qualification there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
because it actually wasn't my idea. It was actually I call her. She was a friend of mine. I met her at a Sunless Summit, and she has become a mentor to me. She's been in business less time than I have, but I consider her a mentor and a friend. And she's the one who said, "Hey, you know what? You really should create a course. You really should teach people this because." You know so much, and I'm like, that imposter syndrome. Who
Yeah.
can listen to me? I'm not a teacher. I'm not, So I love being able to share, and I love the what you said in the beginning about not competing and empowering. I mean, this is a huge world, and there is plenty enough of everything to
Yes.
go around. There's no reason people have to be, Yeah, I mean, there, are 100 air conditioning people, in a 5 mile radius of us. It doesn't matter. There's still a million other people that you need to service. So I don't like I don't like that thought either. Is that just um, you have to be supportive of others because
Yeah.
this is hard. Business is not easy.
Yeah.
You may, people might say, oh my gosh, she has everything. She's so lucky. This and this. No, you know what? I worked my ass off for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And my husband worked his ass off for it. And we've done that for 27 years. So, you know, and I still don't feel like I'm just feel that I should say, I deserve it. And, you don't, or whatever. That's not it. What I'm saying is we put in the work and this is what we put value on. And this is what's important to us.
Mhm.
So what I value is not going to be the same thing that you value.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
So tell us what you're doing now.
So again, it was posed to me that I should do a budgeting workshop. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually having a free webinar tomorrow for a budgeting workshop to help people get control of their money. So
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah, so I'm excited. It's the first time I've done that. So we'll see how it is.
Great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Laura, want to share what Candice is offering our listeners?
Yes. So she is offering for you to get on the wait list for Beginner's Guide to Budgeting. We will add the link into the show notes. And you can sign up for that and, be able to see what she's got to offer, see what's going on, get to know her better, and definitely get on that wait list, so.
Yeah. And she also has a business checklist, and we'll drop the link for that. And it's what's helped her start 3 businesses. And I just think it's freaking awesome that you've been going 27 years. That gives us a little insight too of how old you are. I'm just saying. And so this checklist is proven to help you start a business without feeling that overwhelm and feeling lost. So check the show notes for those links. Next week's guest, surprise. It's a surprise. And that's because we had transparency here, being honest, we had a last minute cancellation. So our guest for next week fell through. So we're going to be figuring it out and letting you know. Yeah. Check the social media. We'll be announcing it there. Also, sign up for our newsletter. Be sure you're on the email list. This is where you get the weekly sneak peeks for upcoming guests. You get links to, for instance, today's show will be the recording and the replays, the links and all of that go out on later in the week in the newsletter. And monthly we'll be doing a free discounted resources for all these awesome ladies. If you want to support women powered business, sign up for this newsletter, because there's going to be a month's worth of guests in there and resources that those guests are offering. And eventually we'll get there, you guys. We'll be able to offer all of this inside our own little membership platform. But for now, we're still building that. So stay tuned. And Candice, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate you being here and being honest and vulnerable and sharing your story.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being here. I love the Fempreneur True Confessions, because I was like, oh, it's kind of like true crime and true. So I was like, I love it. So yes, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed being here.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you for coming.
So we will see you guys next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. All right.
All right, everyone. Have a good week.
Bye.